Hi there, welcome to photographyquestions.com. My name is Will, and today I'm going to spend 5 to 10 minutes talking to you about the adjustment brush in Adobe Lightroom 5. Now, the adjustment brush is found up here on the toolbar, adjustment brush. The hotkey for that is K on your keyboard. Now, the adjustment brush is similar to the radial and graduated filters here, which I've touched on in a previous video, and it allows you to select an area within your image to adjust by painting in a mask over that area. So here we have all the different options that you can add to that adjustment, and we'll just go through these quickly. So temperature, tint, your exposure, contrast, highlights, shadows, clarity, saturation. A lot of these you'll find in your basic adjustments. You can also do sharpness, noise, moire, and defringe, and also add a color cast to your mask. Beneath that we have the brush options, so you can have a brush A and B set up how you like it. So A you might want for a soft brush and B for a hard brush, for example, and you have an eraser as well to erase your mask. So just going through the brushes here, you'll see your brush when you go into your image. Size obviously is the size of the actual brush itself. Feather is the hardness, so on the right we have soft brush, and as you'll see it moves that feather to make the hard brush on the left hand side. Flow and density work a little differently to each other. So what flow does is, if say for example I increase my exposure to say 2, and I have my flow at say 50%, and I brush into the image here, you'll see that it increases the exposure in that area, and I'll then have to go over it again to get that +2 exposure. If I have the flow at 100%, it will just go straight to that +2 exposure. I won't have to go over that area again. Your density is different in that if I had this at 50% and say my flow is at 100, so I only need one brush stroke to make that +2, it will only go to +1. It will keep that cap no matter what you set. I don't generally bother too much with the flow or density. I just I work on the mask and then adjust my settings up here accordingly. So what I wanted to do with this image here is bring out a little bit of the detail on the fantail here, and I can do this in my basic adjustments by using obviously my exposure and shadows, just by increasing that. But for today's purpose I'm going to use a mask to do this. So I'll increase my exposure a wee bit here so I can see the adjustment taking place as I do it. I'm going to decrease the feather on my brush a wee bit, and I'm going to begin to brush in this adjustment here as we go. Now you can increase and decrease your brush size by using the bracket keys on your keyboard as well. It's handy if you have a tablet to do this on also. It's a bit more difficult with a mouse. Now we can see here that I've got a bit of a line here, so I'm going to increase that feather again, and we've got an eraser here obviously, so I can go through and erase that mask around the edge there. And I'll go back to my brush and I'll just bring that in around that edge, and already we can see there's a massive change there just by using this adjustment layer. Now once that mask is done, we can adjust this however we want. The mask will stay there until it's deleted. Here's your mask selector here. Now if I mouse over that, it'll bring up an outline of the mask in red, which is quite handy to see what's masked and what's not, and what kind of feather you have. For example, we can see on the board that it's standing along this line here, the feather goes slightly over and into that background area. Now you'll see once you take your mouse off that mark, the mask will disappear. You can have that mask by hitting the O key on your keyboard, and you can also just hit that on and off by using the O key. Down the bottom here we've got show selected mask overlay as well, which you can also do there. So let's say we want to take away a bit of that. We'll go back to our eraser tool and just increase that size a wee bit, and we can take away some of that overlap there. Okay, so take away our mask, and that's you know, a very quick edit. I would work on that mask a wee bit more, but I'll just go through some other options here just to show what they do. Temperature is basically your color temperature, so warmer or cooler. Tint, you know, as changing the tint of your image. Obviously exposure we've already touched on. Contrast, you can increase contrast for that selected area. You know, if we did want to use exposure, we could use some shadows, bring some of those shadows back in that area. Highlights, again, you can bring highlights up or down. You can increase your clarity and also your saturation in a specific area. So it's quite handy, you know, for doing selective adjustments. You know, when you don't want, say, a graduated one or just an overall radial adjustment, you can increase sharpness in a specific area, and you can obviously blur specific areas out just like that as well. Noise, you can increase noise in an area, and you can decrease that as well. Obviously, Moire we don't have to worry about because we don't have any of that within our image. And defringe is one I will touch on quickly. So I've got my mask for that. I'm going to create a new mask here. So go up to your mask section, hit new. So this is a brand new mask which has nothing to do with this one here. So I'm going to drop my exposure down, and I'm going to turn my mask overlay on so I can see what I'm doing. And I've noticed here in my image there's a little bit of fringing, a green fringe there. Now another little tip, once I've got my brush selected, I can hit the spacebar, hold the spacebar down, and I can just click that to zoom in, and still holding I can drag that around, and once you release that it'll go back to your brush. So I can now paint in a mask here, nice and quick. We're only going to use the defringe option on this, so it doesn't have to be too accurate. And once that's done, I'll zoom back out again, and I will take off that overlay. Actually, I might zoom back in so we can see this. Increasing the defringe there, we'll see that green fringe sort of disappears. Now that option is also available within your basic lens correction tools down here under color, and removing chromatic aberration is the defringe option, which works across the whole image. But again, you can use that mask to selectively do that. So that's basic overview of the adjustment brush. Again, you can create as many many adjustment layers or adjustment selections as you want. All you have to do is just create a new one up here every time and work on that particular area. And again, you can select any one of these just by clicking on it and hit the delete key if you want to get rid of it. So yeah, so that's a basic overview of the adjustment brush. I hope you've learned something today. And if you're looking at getting Lightroom at any stage, we have an affiliate link on photographyquestions.com/resources, and that just helps me out if you want to go through that avenue to purchase Lightroom. And I do thank you if you decide to do this. So that's it for now. Stay tuned for some more videos coming up. Thanks.